So before we dive into the meat of what we're going to cover in this pathway, we're going to talk very briefly about what you can expect to learn and what we're going to punt to the curated content section so that you can set your expectations appropriately. Specifically, this pathway is going to focus on some of Relate's core curriculum on audience, messaging, and narrative. And so what does this mean? This is just a taste of what we would cover in a full Relate workshop. And before I dive into the specifics of that, I also want to say that there are lots of other approaches to science communication training. And as I said before, they're highlighted in the curated content section that you can explore. And there's also a secondary opportunity for the SciComm Opportunities Near You forum that you can also explore and add to if you're interested in learning more. So this pathway or what you get out of this pathway will really depend on how much time and effort you put into it. In other words, how deep you decide to dive into the content. As I said before, there are three areas. There's audience, messaging, and narratives. And there are three different levels of effort that you can choose to engage in so that you're getting different amounts of content back out of it. At the very surface level, which is the smallest time commitment, you can just watch the videos to get some ideas about the types of ideas that we're discussing as important for science communication and to get an understanding about what Relate's approach to developing activities are. If you want to take it a step further and sort of go with a middle level of effort, you can complete drafts of our suggested activities and start working on a specific type of science story that you want to tell for a specific audience that you might be interested in engaging with. And for those of you who really want to do the deep dive and start really working on your skills during this weekend, you can check your first drafts by listening to our expert voice speakers discuss how critical elements of all of these topics shift depending on the audience, and then you can revise what you initially drafted. If you decide to engage in this pathway, and especially if you engage in this pathway with the two deeper levels, you'll walk away with a few things. First, you'll have an understanding of the audience that you're interested in working with. You'll have developed a core message and some supporting ideas for a specific communication effort that you might want to try with that audience. You'll have the skeleton of a narrative structure, in other words, 4 to 8 sentences of a story that will give you an idea about how you might want to flesh out the rest of your communication effort. And you'll also get some insight into the types of language that are appropriate to use for your audience of interest. We strongly encourage you to complete all of the exercises, and then when you're done, you'll have the opportunity to go into a special forum that's designed for you to get feedback on your communication efforts. And we'll ask you to post 2 different things for feedback if you feel comfortable in doing so. One is what that core message is and your key supporting points for your target audience. And 2 is that 4 to 8 sentence story. And then the idea is that other participants in the teach out will have the opportunity to give you some feedback as to whether or not your core message resonates with your target audience and whether or not that story is compelling and engaging. And then that can be the platform that you can jump off of to continue to revise and iterate on your efforts before you actually go and try and engage in this communication effort. So unfortunately, since we are limited just to this weekend and we can't cover everything with this short time, we want to highlight that there are things that we've left out and encourage you to go explore the resources in the couple of other places where we've tried to give you opportunities to figure out how to do some more of these things. So the types of things we're not covering are things like the differences between speaking and writing and digital communication. We're also not covering nonverbal communication. In other words, how to use your voice and how to use body language to effectively supplement what you're saying to be more effective. We're not covering visual aids, how to use props or how to create good effective slides or figures using good aspects of visual design. We're not talking at all about how or techniques to connect and interact with an audience if you're live, and we're not talking about dealing with controversial issues. So what we're going to do instead is say, since we're limited, we're going to try and focus and do a deep dive on some of these core elements of communication skills and hope that you explore the curated content section and the forum for local opportunities so that you can get ideas about where you can learn more. And if you see something in there that you're interested in, we strongly encourage you to get in contact with the relevant people. And especially in the Local Opportunities Forum, if you know of an opportunity but don't see it listed, we strongly encourage you to add it. So that's what you can expect to see in this pathway. And so now let's get going.